apologize, Sid.
All right, all you groovy, tuned in, turned on, way out fans, here's a sample of your kind of music, Strange Brew.
Abrupt end. I like doing that. I don't know why. It's a pattern, I guess. Let's change it to this one. So that this song is ready for the end. Sophisticated Lady. It's a good guitar lick. Probably played on piano. Again, that's Ollie North, I think? Can't even find him on YouTube, though. It's really weird. Met him through some other social media. And then he made this type of music so that people wouldn't get their... So that people can have nice sounding music that wasn't copyrighted, basically. So it's pretty cool, but guy's kind of mysterious. Just some random, like, English dude. That's why the rap ones, the guy's got an English accent. Cockney accent, or what do they call it? So, found some more interesting information. So I think I forgot to mention this whole thing about the Nostradamus song. If you look it up in the lyrics, it's very true in two different senses. You can do it in a bad sense as a false prophet. You can do it in a good sense as a true prophet. But it's interesting that the whole song, the guitars and the music sound like if you mixed Russian music with like Phantom of the Opera, and of course Phantom of the Opera is it's like Germanic, Slavic, Germanic, and then you get Russian. It's very, very interesting. It's like talking about a religion, but Nostradamus, of course, is the pharaonic version of Moses or any of the prophets or Messiah. He's supposed to be like a anti-Melchizedek, you can say, because it's like, oh, Melchizedek might have prophesied, but nobody heard it. So Nostradamus might be some kind of symbolism of, oh, we're gonna claim that this guy prophesied everything. When you just notice a certain pattern in nature, you can just prophesy very, very, very vague things, and you can apply it to most things. When language is specific and language seems multidimensional, having almost paragraphs within words sometimes that you can extrapolate out of things, especially if you use it against other languages. You take a language and you Hebraize it like you've seen me do. If you've went through all the videos, I mean, congratulate you. It'd be harder to watch these videos than to make them, I would imagine. But maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. Or maybe it's both. Maybe it's both equal. I don't know. Oh, I can't see the chat. It's always empty anyway, but it doesn't matter. Make sure I can see it. All right. So I just realized because I was watching Jim Bob for a few minutes, I walked in on it, and it's funny. It's funny and tragic at the same time. That's comedy. That uh, they can get people in loops no matter who they are, and they can make Horace set type things with Jim Bob and Owen Owen Benjamin. And it's like then they just get trapped in their own things. They become the battery that they tell people about. It's really weird. So I called him Baby Yoda. It was funny. Because he doesn't understand he's Baby Yoda. Like, he doesn't even understand why his beard is black and white. I can tell him why his beard is black and white. It's because Japheth dwells within the tents of Shem. When people do that periodically over generations, they literally get a yin yang beard or yin yang hair. The side will get white before the top. This and that. And they're like, oh, it's just a rare mutation. Blah. It's like, tired of this. And so a lot of Freemasons will have it. Doesn't mean someone's a Freemason because they have a beard like that. It just means Freemasons will, people with these types of beards will be drawn to Gnosticism, Freemasonry, a lot of Orthodoxy stuff or Catholicism because it's a lot of the us versus them. Why do you think there's like Greek Orthodox and Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, and this Orthodox? And it's like none of them think the other one's right. And because it's like the more you take a black and white. You can do this with certain image editors. Take a black and white where it's half black, half white, and then you start like kaleidoscoping it. That's basically what they've done to Japheth. You got all the different orthodoxies. The more you kaleidoscope it and divide it into things, it becomes this very disorienting looking black and white thing. Just do that. There, you can even take a picture. You can make a picture half black, half white, or get two pieces of construction paper that are black and white, and do this and get a kaleidoscope or something. You can do it with your phone. Some phones have the app that's free. You can take a picture of black. It's so easy. You take your Obama phone. A homeless person can do it. There's a contrast somewhere around a homeless person that can have an Obama phone, and they can take the picture of it, download a free app that does a kaleidoscope effect, and the more you distort it and the more tinier the. But you know what? Wow, this is why they worship the Ra, which is the eclipsed sun. So they say it's a third entity called Rahu, but it's not. They're just creating a trinity, aren't they? Two things are actually resonating with each other. One's a greater light, one's a lesser light. Some people try to make a trinity, and it comes from Egypt. There you go. Look at that. You do that through language. See, it's not sola scriptura, is it? It's the language itself. I'm right on all sides. Do you understand? I'm not sola scriptura necessarily. It's just that the Hebrew language is preserved very, 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 very purely in scriptura. But see, then they have the inner turmoil. I can explain to you every single nation's religions because every human being has the same desire. And we're all born the same way, essentially. Certain Kaisarians try to change that with special bloodlines, but it's still hard to. They can never really sever spiritual things without consent. I don't really get into all that, but yeah, it's like, see how I'm. But again, the divide here is Set and Horus. Do I sit? Scripture suggests you stand still and see the salvation, but it also hints at times where you might want to trust your instinct to do a Horus. Horse? Where do you think we get horse from? Horus is working out. Horus is exercise. You must have a balance of Horus and Set. Oh, look, there's yin yang again. There's Yan. They call it evil, though. The people who historically seem to not like Shem call Han Yang, Han's investment, Yan Gimel. And then yin is literally this the fist or the small testimony. Yeah, the fist of the small testimony to cling on to. It's literally conservative. And then Han is being liberal. Yin Yang is just conservative and liberal. Oh, gee, the Chinese have us under their own system, don't they? Don't you understand that your system's run by the Chinese? I already told you that's where the Soviets came from. I tell people in Israel this, they don't believe me. Some of them do. And that it's interesting when I notice the phenotypes of the people who listen. I'm not going to say that's the end all be all. I know it's not. It's very interesting who listens and who doesn't. I can predict about 90% accuracy based on their phenotypes who's going to listen to me before I even start speaking. I just need to look at their eyes and their phenotype. I'm actually searching for that. Some people get frustrated that I skip them like 4 times. It's like, I don't know you. Are you some kind of agent? You see how people can just naturally get paranoid online? It's like because these people have psychopathic behaviors, and they think because you skip them 4 times, then they get frustrated. Why'd you skip me? It's like, you just displayed the behavior. Why I skipped you? I saw it in your eyes first. I'm not choosing who I skip. Sometimes there's... Because I can't support the website because it's just... they have to have certain regulations. Better. The last version of it was very bad, but they're still good on it. And I think I might have a video somewhere where I used the old version of it. It was this really, really, really like cool, like Will Smith type black guy. He's really laid back and he's just eating snacks and wanting to talk to people about interesting stuff. And every time I had watched that video years after, it gives me chills of what the guy said. Because that's why they try to oppress the Hamite. Because the Hamite absorbs so much. That's what the black skin represents. You absorb so much. You could be hyper intelligent, but you can have trouble expressing it. If you submit to the Most High through Messiah, that's why the most intelligent Hamites I've seen are Christian, because then it's like all that absorption can be expressed properly. That's what the whole black and white is supposed to be. They're not supposed to be separate. You're supposed to be testing like real science with both of them in your experiences. That's why sin, chat, and all kinds of other shet, but not shet, because shat and shet can be like growth. That's why manure is called shit. Can't make it that up. Oh wait, I think I forgot to say that, so this reminded me. I just forget all that. I can... Bullshit. Remember I said bullshit is worthless? That's why we even get bullshit is probably some kind of Yiddish. A lot of stuff in American comes from Yiddish. There's certain words. So when we say bullshit, we're actually saying bullshit, which means worthless. When we say liar, we're talking about beliar, which is also worthlessness. But I think it specifies a house or sons of. So sons of the serpent. It's Boshet and Belial are Behemoth and Leviathan, and I'll get to that. I've been getting so much stuff I can't even read this book. I gotta start reading parts of this book in between. But yeah, so a Bolshevik is the victorious ones who just bring worthlessness. That's what happened in the Bolshevik Revolution. They starved like almost 70 million people. And then Lenin just died or whatever happened to him. And then there's a picture, I think I got it, of the bear of Bolshevism. Where is it at? It's like a big bear. It's a big bear, and it's leashed to a dead person. This is Egyptian ritual. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! The Pharaoh is reborn in the big bear. Exodia. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Dark Magician. People don't realize what's going to happen. Okay, I don't know where this bear is. Did I take? I know I took a picture of it. Let me see. I'll see it. Give me a second. It's coming. I know it is. I can see the ones I know surround it. I know that bear is somewhere in there. There's also a picture of Eisenhower next to Khrushchev, I think it is. And they look like brothers. They have the same exact skull and the same exact vein. Yeah, I'm almost to it because I think these are in order. So I'm going more back in time looking through these pictures. I'm bound to. Here's the bear. There we go. There we go. There's the bear. Oh, it's large. Let me make that smaller here. This is insane. People are arguing about the shape of the earth, or red and blue, or Jordan Peterson, or any of these people. Meanwhile, about 100 freaking years ago, January 1924, is that what it says? Let me look at that. Yep, January 23rd, 1994. They like to do a lot of Sixer things too. I'll try to point that out later. And some of these that actually do have to do with Remfan and Shushan and all this hexagon and hex stuff. The dates, even when they publish them, will be like the 26th or 1926 or 36 or 63 or you know what I mean? It's very interesting. So Bolshevism, and look, it's leased to Nikolai Lenin. And I forgot it said like is this the end? This is the end. But see, it's a big bear, Bolshevism. Big bear Bolshevism. That's what these people end up being. And then they go against the big bear and they become Bochette to the big bear. And these people are of the bloodlines. So it's like, okay, is it by design or are they psychologically doing it naturally? Is it organic or I don't know. That's just the stuff I think of. I treat everybody the same though. It's not like I don't hate anybody. I'm trying to figure out what they're struggling with. That's why I'm even presenting this book. I'm telling you this guy in this book is a benevolent psychopath, Mr. Adolf Hitler. Oh, that's why I just remembered. Let me show you this really quick. I'll tell you one proof for these Soviets. And this whole Tartaria stuff is literally just an encoded thing where they want the millennial reign. That's why they try to claim it already happened. And they call it Tartaria. That's a tartan is a design of a Scottish garb that they use to mark their clan. And let me show you this. Because these people are very intelligent. It's just natural. There's nothing wrong with that. The Scots and the Picts were very, very intelligent. Look at the inventions, the modern inventions of Irish and Scottish people, if you don't believe me. And then I'm about to show you that. Tell me if I'm wrong in interpreting it this way. Let me show you. And then I'll remind you with a picture of the Golden Horde after I show you this. Let me show you this first, actually. So this Scottish tartan. So Highlander, Great Kilt, Scottish. Tartan is these patterns, just for context here. Now, let me bring up the clans that I've shown you before. Oh my god, this is insanely intelligent. It's insanely beautiful. It's what can arise out of the desire of people who want to cling to what their fathers died for. Do you understand? Look at these clans. So I'll pull up the other picture for context here. Oh, it's already here. So here's the other one for context. They make all these insignia and they take oaths, or maybe they just swear loyalty. You see how each of these insignia have their own mantra. Let's see some of these. Tide that may. It probably means come what may of the tides. These people went out and braved the seas or something, probably. Unless it's talking about somehow Tyrus or something, or but you know what I mean? These people, their shields, they made their own shields. They made each of their helmets different. Look at the Kennedys. They got this, like, remember the Simpsons episode with the grandpa and the flying swordfish? And they got this, like, swordfish looking thing, something that looks very similar. And it's Yise La Fin, probably like fighting till the end. But Yise sounds like Jesse, father of David. They might think that they're from that genealogy. Do you understand? So, get ready. So, each of these people, for some reason, they created their women, most likely. They're sturdy, hardy, willing to shed their own blood for you women, knitted, sewn, whatever, made all of these designs. And if you weren't of this clan and you wore this kilt, you can start literal blood feuds and get your entire clan liable. Gee, that sounds very familiar. When the tribes of Israel, something had happened that is an abomination to Israel. It had never happened quite like that till that day, that they treated one of their own women in the book of Judges, the Levite and his concubine. What do you think that is? That is the Good Samaritan story, where it's the opposite. The Levite's concubine is the church. And because they aren't getting along, doesn't state exactly the reason, they just claim his claim was that she was unfaithful in some way. But it's very vague. She went to go live with her father. Very interesting. And then somebody trusts their genetics over what is the logical choice to lodge. And then he does it a second time, like the second death, and sends the concubine out there. But because he still has a certain mind, that's why Yehovah says, I choose you because you do these things already. They don't get you salvation. I'm reminding you about faith because I want to use you for something because you do these things. So even though he was careless in all his ways, you can say like World War One and Two, it's still so horrifying to anybody that he's like, what am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna do something so unorthodox and horrid in order to shock these people into bringing justice, because I have no way of bringing justice. You just read that story in Judges. So these people are the same. They make loyalty oaths, not necessarily what scripture says you shouldn't take, but what scripture talks about in brotherly bonds. And they literally create all of these things because guess what? What their fathers fought and died for is trying to be robbed by some weak, parasitic type people. They come in, they absorb your clan, they try to marry within your clan, and then they try to be just like sports team. These people say, we won the Super Bowl. It's like, you didn't do anything. Imagine just wearing any of these kilts and being like, I did what you did. Ooh. You start blood feuds. This is how the world is. It just manifests more as these evil countries declaring war. And they're Soviets. They take from every country, and then they try to take their glory. They think they're going to breed into the people of clay to get into paradise. They just play this kind of stuff in movies constantly, because the people who go through this the most, a lot of them end up being pulled into the movies because they want you to be a sorcerer. But it's their demise, because you'll still have magicians that will like Daniel or Moses and be like, hey, this is the finger of God. What are we supposed to do? These people were very, very serious. I come from these people. I come from a part that's like part the Soviet type and part of it. And every time it's manifested out of the bloodline, they say this in the Oblivion movie. That movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise with the cloning. The original one fought against the crown, so they exiled him and made clones of him, let him breed, and they used the clones. These aren't actual clones the way they depict them in movies. It's just actual people. And then another bloodline that I'm calling Soviets, that Animorphs calls Yerks, that all these movies talk about symbiotes. It's spiritual though. And not Star Trek, but the Stargate has the Goa'uld. I can Hebraize that. I just don't have time. But yes, Boshet and Belial. So basically, Owen Benjamin would be Belial, or son of Beliar, trying to induct Jim Bob into it, but the process is meant to make him just a son of Boshet, Ishboshet, or a Bolshevik, communist or capitalist, but they're both anarcho-capitalist. China is anarcho-capitalist. The US is anarcho-capitalist. So is the EU. They're trying to do that in the Middle East. They balkanize it. They make states. Don't tell you about the 51st state. They don't tell you about the 250 states of the Habsburg mixed with various others so-called Holy Roman Empire. So these two people, Owen Benjamin and Jim Bob, are just part of bloodlines just like I am. And they just compartmentalize them because it's useful to them to continue to press information out. But they want negative. It just ends up being set and Horus. And if you look it up, it's pretty nasty. It's actually a sexual thing between Set and Horus, an envy that involves that. I'm not going to say more of it. You could look up Egyptian mythology. It's quite disturbing, and you've seen it. You can see it in history because the bloodlines of these people, they worship the same idols and they do the same things. And then the people that are from bloodlines that are exiled because they rebel against the crown, they just try to make clones of them spiritually. Their ideologies, it's Emotep. These people are just two halves of Emotep, is Horus and Set. The true thing is Osiris. It's supposed to be Messiah, but it's reflected in other people. It was reflected in Abel. Abel was Osiris. All the prophets murdered would represent Osiris. So people don't understand. They see these things as just some pagan thing. It's like, no, these are mentalities that nations had. And I proved that when I went over. I need to do a separate episode. I'll do it live. I don't want to just try to edit that last part out. I'd rather just do it live again, where I go over all the idols, the pagan idols listed in scripture and what they actually mean in Hebrew. It tells you the New World Order and all of its idols. It's very interesting. So I'm going to read part of this book because I need to read. I need to end up finishing this. I don't know how many parts I'm going to make. I'm going to do them in 11 parts each on purpose. First 11 here are going to be O Pharaoh, Mine Pharaoh. The next one's going to be Romeo and Juliet. The one after that's going to be, unless I want ones in between and save it for last, it's going to be Machiavellian Paradise Lost. Very, very purposeful. Let me see if I can turn my mic up. This thing's bugging me. I can see that it's not that loud. Let me turn this up. Oh, it turned back down again. It's weird. I'll put it up. I'll put it up that much. Oh, that's a lot better. Okay. So, I think I'm on this page. Oh, okay, yes. As soon as my interest, so this is Mein Kampf again. I am depicting Hitler as a benevolent psychopath and as a type of wizard who slays wizards and then just creates Bolsheviks, more Bolsheviks, while blaming the Bolsheviks. Isn't that interesting? It's very familiar for some reason. So this man says, Mr. Hittite, as soon as my interest in social questions was once awakened, I began to study them in a fundamental way. A new and hitherto unknown world was thus revealed to me. This is Gnostic. He's just documenting his Gnostic journey. Mein Kampf. He's documenting his Gnostic journey. He's a Gnostic. But he might be mixed with it. He's a Kabbalist. He's a Cinderella Man. Listen to Cinderella Man by Rush. It's also Trump. And so he continues. In the years 1909 to 1910, I had so far improved my position that I no longer had to earn my daily bread. Why is there a comma there? That's weird. Anyway, I had so far improved my position that I no longer had to earn my daily bread as a manual laborer. This is also the steps of Freemasonry. You step up, you go up the ladder. I was now working independently as a draughtsman and painter in watercolors. This meteor was a poor one indeed as far as earnings were concerned, for these were only sufficient to meet the bare exigencies of life. Come on, dude. He's Yoda. Do you understand? It's like some of these words that, yes, they're interesting, they're fancy. Stop talking like Yoda if you're saying you're the people's man. Oh, I don't want to be braggadocious. Yet he continues. Yet it had an interest. Imagine this in German too. His speeches might have been good, but like his people probably only heard half of them because he puts these flowery words in there. Yet it had an interest for me in view of the profession to which I aspired. Moreover, when I came home in the evenings, I was now no longer dead tired as formerly, when I used to be unable to look into a book without falling asleep almost immediately. Yeah, that's a spiritual thing because your blood is downloading information through light. So what happens when you watch TV? Or at least if you're watching something that's bullshit or Belial. What has it to do with Mashiach? Nothing. You must either watch Mashiach or nothing. And you can do this just by reading scripture and history. Everything I'm saying is just to prove that you can do this that way. That's all it really is. And he continues, Mr. Hittite. My present occupation, therefore, was in line with the profession I aimed at for the future. Moreover, I was master of my own time and could distribute my working hours now better than formerly. That's working with your time. It's not being a master. You're not a master of your own time. I painted in order to earn my bread. You can literally just like pass out for 7 hours if the Most High willed it. These people. I swear I'll do this a year from now. It's like, what? I painted in order to earn my bread, allegedly, and I studied because I liked it. Everybody likes study. Everybody should like study. Thus, I was able to acquire that theoretical knowledge of the social problem, which was a necessary complement to what I was learning through actual experience. What he might not realize until he does later on in his life, when it's too late or he ignores it too long, that he's of the same bloodline as me and certain other people in Hollywood and in politics and stuff like that. And they're trying to breed this as a people in America using certain medical experiments that have to do with things. But I could post that in Telegram or something. I don't know. Can't speak of it too much here. Eisenhower's like, oh, send it to the Reds too. Look it up, Eisenhower with that stuff. Might have put his own proteins in there. Okay, compliments, theoretical knowledge. Okay, so what he might be unaware of until it's too late is that they're always grooming this man to become a sorcerer. That's probably why he was meant to be fascinated with war, so that he would get into a war, some kind of conflict, and take life. It doesn't matter whether it's righteous or not, good or bad, taking life in general. And they mold him through that. They try to bring out the iron. And when the beast is fully formed, it is set loose and given ability. And it thinks it's a god because it's suddenly given the ability. It's like, no, it's because you're ready. You're primed, and they just let you out there and you seem organic. I was cast out of Europe. I was cast out of America. I was cast out of Hollywood. Blah, blah, blah. You know what goats do? Blah, 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 blah. Not even kidding. You can't make this up. Sheep cry out. Goats do too, but it's more obnoxious. It's more painful sounding, and most of the time they're going blah, 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 blah. So that's how Mr. Hittite continues. Mr. Big Bear. Big, great white chief. Great Hittite chief. Thus, I was able to acquire that theoretical knowledge of the social problem, which was a necessary complement to what I was learning through actual experience. He was no, I was become he. This is the sorcerer's apprentice. I studied all the books which I could find that dealt with this question, and I thought deeply on what I read. I think that the milieu in which I then lived considered me an eccentric person, flamboyant. Watch was it Rat Race? I'm not crazy. I'm eccentric. I'm eccentric. Donald Sinclair. Sinclair is one of these Scottish clans. Donald Sinclair, but he's most likely a Soviet doppelganger. He's all rich, and he's like, "Oh look, I can help your people. Just let me claim their spiritual inheritance." It's like, I don't think so. So he continues, besides my interest in the social question, I naturally devoted myself with enthusiasm to the study of architecture. Remember Frank Costanza uh, always pretended to be an architect? Side by side with music, see, they're trying to draw a certain person. I considered it queen of the arts. To study it was for me not work but pleasure. See, this and what I'm doing even might be like destroying my evil twin. Because Hitler's almost like my evil twin. It's like, yeah, you gotta go through the same experiences, right? Because Elohim shows no partiality. But I take good out of it, he takes evil and struggle. I get peace, I get shalom, I get Noach out of Apocalypse. He gets Rahu. He gets Rameses. I get Musha. I just get Mises. He gets Rameses. He gets the drawing out of evil. I just get the drawing out. See how that works? I could read or draw until the small hours of the morning without ever getting tired. Oh, see, then you can delusion yourself and think you're some special person. And I became more. It's just literally ancestors build it up through their hard work. That's it. And you can lose it over a few generations. And I became more and more confident that my dream of a brilliant future, brave new world, would become true, even though I should have to wait long years for its fulfillment. See, that's where a little bit of this Semitic might be in there. But Hamitic can also be patient. This where you get hermetically sealed. Um, I was firmly convinced that one day I should make a name for myself as an architect. This is Putin, too. Put is a brother of Egypt. Can't get around that, or his past, or a picture being worth 1,000 words. I think I forgot to show this. I want this one up here. Picture worth 1,000 words. I'll show you this first. Oh, man. I have gas bubbles in my stomach, if you can hear that. Hopefully you can't. Touching foreheads. Fourth dimensional. He's receiving the Soviet symbiote. Or just aligning with it. I know this is how people talk and whisper to each other, blah, blah, blah. But they know what they're doing symbolically and spiritually. They're putting their crowns together. With his luxury watch and murky Soviet past, Patriarch Kirill is Putin's spiritual leader and power broker. Now, let's see another picture here. You see the black and white? They think they can fool people. Remember I showed you Zelensky goes to the Wailing Wall with the white hat and Putin goes there with the black hat? Coincidentally, he is the bad guy and Zelensky's the good guy. But they both work for the same mark. They have no soul. It has been crossed. Their minds have been seared. Their consciousness has been seared. It's literally darkness ascending upon the crown of the subservient Soviet symbiote. Look at those eyes. What is in there? It's a yerk. It's a symbiote. It's Soviet. It's a KGB agent. It's a sleeper agent. Joe Biden, wake up. 9/11. I'm not sure. Am I gonna have to show that at the end of this one? Joe Biden, wake up. Let's go, Brandon. It's like, what is all this stuff? Come on. Brandon is probably some kind of clan. Or it means something. So Mr. Hittite continues. The fact that, side by side with my professional studies, I took the greatest interest in everything that had to do with politics did not seem to me to signify anything of great importance. On the contrary, I looked upon this practical interest in politics merely as part of an elementary obligation that devolves on every thinking man. This is people who know that the school system is rigged, but they get through it like a puzzle just to get the diploma and everything. Some people don't care. And rightly, there's two ways of getting to the same place. And to refuse it is actually better, in my opinion. So, those who have no understanding, he continues, of the political world around them have no right to criticize or complain. Yes and no. On political questions, therefore, I still, because, there's babies and children, and obviously that. But you can see that's based, it's a fundamental truth. On political questions, therefore, I still continued to read and study a great deal, but reading had probably a different significance for me from that which it has for the average run of the so-called intellectuals. See, he tries to act like an outsider, just like Trump. But Trump was Jesuit trained. He went to Jesuit schools. Was Jesuit trained. You can look it up. Hittite says, I know people who read interminably, book after book, from page to page, yet I should not call them well-read people. Of course, they know an immense amount, but their brain seems incapable of assorting and classifying the material which they have gathered from books. He's talking about fourth dimensional things. They can get and absorb all the data fourth dimensionally, but they can't extrapolate it. He's talking about the Hamite mind. If you truly connect to Messiah, and he's called the Word, and I've already went through all this, then that extrapolates it for you, and you become the ultimate weapon for Messiah, for the Word. They have not he continues, they have not the faculty of distinguishing between what is useful and useless in a book, so that they may retain the former in their minds, and if possible, skip over the latter while reading it. If that be not possible, then when once read, throw it overboard as useless ballast. This man understands this. That's why he writes his book and tells you everything. Later on, I'll probably get to it at some point where he talks about the big lie. They make a lie so big that if they get people to go with it, it's so big, people have to put their whole foundation on it. And then it becomes very unstable. This is how movies, like if you watch the first Incredibles movie and the second one, even though they're made so far apart, it's so weird. They're like, oh, there's all these supposed liberals, Jews, Chinese people, whoever they claim is in Hollywood has somebody who produced those two movies, and it's a perfect warning for American society. The second movie is so ridiculously, and it's 2018, so it's 2 years into Trump, or more technically, but 2 official years into Trump. This movie comes out, and it's showing all the liberal and conservative views melded into one, and shows you the truth of what's behind the deception. And they're like, oh, these people in Hollywood, we need to do tribunals and all this stuff. It's like, you better be careful, because some of the stuff depicted in these movies, it's like, are they just taking an immense amount of drugs, or they could just be good people? A lot of times you see them, they don't even know what the outside world is like. They're just sheltered, and they're like really smart, and they're like, yeah, just notice these patterns for me. It's scary outside, though. You'll make a lot of money doing this, and you'll be safe. But it says that in the Pink Floyd songs because these men grew up that way, with the overbearing mother whose arms turn into the wall, because if a mother doesn't have a sovereign, they can't help you fully, especially if you're a male child. All they can do is help you build a wall, which can seem safe, but it makes you weak. That's why he's called Pink. It's a pink ball of... He's totally vulnerable and totally transparent at the same time. It's just, this stuff is written everywhere. So Mr. Hittite continues, reading is not an end in itself. This is why he writes this in the book. But a means to an end. That's why scripture is a means to an end, but not the end in itself. It's just telling you this is what the end looks like. This is what the beginning, middle, and end look like. This is what was and is to come. Oh, and it's warning you of something that was, but is not. It's a Soviet, but it is to come. Reading is, okay. Its chief purpose, he says, reading, its chief purpose is to help towards filling in the framework which is made up of the talents and capabilities of each individual, that each individual possesses. So their own words go against them in their end. And their wisdom is proved by the fruits. By its fruits. They always want to say her because they've been possessed by the Queen of Heaven or something. It's like, look, you can talk about feminine things, the soil being feminine, the heavens being masculine, but the soil is never gonna... I can't. Rocks and soil form things that look like both genitalia, and there's things in the sky that do look like both too. So it's like, and then it says in Messiah, all are one, all function as one, all have equal right to salvation if they pass the test, etc., etc. Its chief purpose is to help towards filling in the framework which is made up of the talents. Think of the talents of gold, the parables, and capabilities that each individual possesses. Thus, each one procures for himself the implemented materials necessary for the fulfillment of his calling in life, no matter whether this be the elementary task of earning one's daily bread or a calling that responds to higher human aspirations. Such is the first purpose of reading. People who are fans of Hitler and Mein Kampf are the same as those people, and they most likely are also fans and the same people as the ones who worship like Marcus Aurelius or Kaiser's writings, Julius Kaiser, Gaius, Julius, Kazir. Goss, literally Goss, Julian Kashar, Kazar, Kashir, Kushir, Sheen. Sheen probably used to be Kushin, Kushar, Sheen, Charlie Sheen, Charles, probably Carl's, Karar, Anna. I'll make the connections for you. I can't do the whole thing. I'm just one person. That's what they make fun of in South Park with that guy who figures out the whole thing, and that the whole he has these weird ways of connecting things. And then he's the one that helps everybody figure out that Cartman was implanted with something that just hones in the television signal so that all the heavens can watch this show of all these entities put together on one Earth. It's like, and the two they make are literally Soviets, and they're supposed to pretend they're Yehudim. They're not. They're Soviets, but they make sure they talk like this, and they have big noses, and they do cocaine, but they call it blech. You want to do some blech? And Kenny does some. They let the child do. It's like, and then it's like, oh, they're Canadian brothers making that show. It's like, oh no, they're special ones because they've encountered a lot of people to give them a lot of stimuli to make a show like that. So let's say again, he says, let me repeat what he says. Thus, each one procures for himself the implements and materials necessary for the fulfillment of his calling in life. This is just a psychiatrist. This is Thanos. I know more about you than you know about yourself. It's like, no, you don't. The Most High does. If he's let you seen it and you claim it's your own, you get in trouble. No matter whether this be the elementary task of earning one's daily bread, a calling that responds to higher human aspirations, this is how he views religion of any kind, even true. Such is the first purpose of reading, and the second purpose is to give a general knowledge of the world in which we live. In both cases, however, the material which one has acquired through reading must not be stored up in the memory on a plan that corresponds to the successive chapters of the book, but each little piece of knowledge thus gained must be treated as if it were a little stone to be inserted into a mosaic so that it finds its proper place among all the other pieces and particles that help to form a general world picture in the brain of the reader. Otherwise, only a confused jumble of chaotic notions will result from all this reading. That jumble is not merely useless, but it also tends to make the unfortunate possessor of it conceited. For he seriously considers himself a well-educated person and thinks that he understands something of life. My daddy was a philosopher. He believes that he has acquired knowledge, whereas the truth is that every increase in such knowledge draws him more and more away from real life, until he finally ends up in some sanatorium or takes to politics and becomes a parliamentary deputy. This is just Confucius. Confucius said very similar things about hierarchies, and I had posted this before. I have the picture somewhere, the screenshots of the book. I could post that at some point, what Confucius said about hierarchies, which was right. He's just doing the same thing. If you rewind this and have me read this again to you, it's the same speech basically as Mr. Incredible's boss. Company is like an enormous clog. And he talks about all this paragraph right here is repeated in that movie as all the cogs meshing together. While he's talking, somebody could actually be helped. But he's an insurance company. He'd rather them get robbed first. That helps him. Or doesn't want to because it hurts him. He doesn't care about the person actually being wronged. Whoever made this movie, whether good or bad, they became a psychologist because they were surrounded by them their whole life. And then they made movies. And they're like, I didn't like that I was abused when I was a child. So I made these movies. You know what I mean? And it's a bunch of them that come together and make those movies. So it's like, you wonder why they're deeply psychological? You know, that's why. So rewind where I read this paragraph and then go to that movie and listen to that. Or maybe there's a YouTube video that has that speech. Go listen to his speech or look for the transcript. That's what I need to remember right now. Transcript for the Incredibles 2 movie, The Screenslaver. I was talking about screens enslaving people for 10 to 15 years. I wrote when I was still getting drunk in high school and doing dumb stuff, immoral stuff. I was writing in Tardy Sweep joke essays about Obama being the Antichrist and building a AI army to enslave the entire world. But see, Trump's even more Asiatic looking than Obama, so. I'm going to find that picture eventually. It's in a Russian church somewhere. It depicts supposedly Messiah returning, and it looks exactly like Trump. And they worship this thing called the Lord of the Golden Hair. And they talk about the Golden Horde. Let me show you the Golden Horde one more time. Let me see here, because this is important. So this picture right here. Why isn't it working? It's weird. Oh, I think I know why. It's too big. No. What's going on here? It's not even showing it. I don't understand. Okay, what if I change this picture to it? Is it just not going to let me show this picture? Oh, here we go. Jeez. This is the... Oh, Kazan. Kasar. Kazir Khan. Genghis birthplace. Manchuria. Manchurian candidate. On the throne of China. Do you understand? They just keep absorbing other people's genetics because theirs is wearing thin because they are us versus them to the extreme. Look at the Golden Horde. What is the crown that they're after? I'll tell you. It's the one I had to change this picture into from. Maybe that had to happen. It's Tartaria. These kilts are literally what they try to say is Tartaria. It's just the symbols of these people that are fighting for their blood. They understand spirituality. A lot of them probably understand that they have no true enemies. Their enemies are fourth dimensional, so they make kilts and all these odd designs that would confuse AI. Before AI exists, do you understand that these people develop designs that will fool AI hundreds of years with strings, with cotton, with their will, the desire for their husbands to live and for their children to live? I keep asking people, are you prepared for the age of AI? These people were prepared hundreds of years. Hundreds. There's people who've been prepared for thousands of years for that day. You better start looking at these very closely and start figuring out how to do this for your family. How are you preparing for the age of AI? Some people have been preparing for hundreds of years, some thousands, some only decades, some for centuries. I hope people are understanding. Okay, let's see here. So I don't know why this picture here isn't working. I need to delete this image 7 to bad 7. Okay. What am I looking at here? Nothing on this screen, I don't think. Oh, greetings. Shalom, bellicose hyperbole. Nice to see you again. Finding out some wild stuff. Wild, wild, wild. Jurassic Park is way more interesting. The story it's based off of. All these like Scottish looking people. It's like, oh, they claim to be Scottish. My mother was Scottish. I look like my mother, everybody says. So yeah, okay. And then they try to say that they're Yehudim. It's like, no, you're New Yorker. You're New York, Yorkton, New Yorkton. Where's the old Yorkton? Oh, it was in England. Not Angles, not Saxtons, British. Habsburg, Hohenstaufen. Bourbon. Victoria, all these people. Bolshevik. Sieg Heil is Heil Victory. Kaiser Wilhelm and Tsar Nicholas were cousins, and they're both related to Queen Victoria. Actually, I don't think I've shown that yet. Let me. Does that picture I have show that? Let me see if I actually have that genealogy. Oh no, the Queen Victoria one. Oh, it doesn't show them all. Oh, sneaky, sneaky. They're only showing the British side, the Covenant of Man, British. Okay. I'm gonna have to go find one that links Wilhelm and all that. Sneaky, sneaky Leviathan, who weave a web, but not of the spirit of Jehovah, do they? Or what a tangled web they weave when first they practice to deceive. This is what they did. They teach Hittite man how to deceive. And he forms his own web that strengthens their web. That's what they want you to do for them. So he continues about all this, which is also the lecture that Robert Parr, it's literally the Noble Bull. They see it as Babylon. Christian would see it as Messiah in the kingdom. They both believe they have right to it. Only one does. And the fruits will prove which one it is. Such a person never succeeds in turning his knowledge to practical account when the opportune moment arrives. Oh, he waited for an opportune time. That's what Satan does. For his mental equipment is not ordered. I mean, doesn't make waiting for an opportune time wicked. Good and evil are just successful or unsuccessful. But it's disastrous or beneficial, but it implies in the Hebrew, in the biblical way, the scriptural way of looking at it, it implies good for everybody or bad for you and everybody. So it's not just you, it's third dimensional. He's teaching all this stuff one or second dimensional. Keep you lowered. That's probably why you needed to invent methamphetamines. Just to get these lowered people to do things right. It's like he lowered them, though. He lowers them psychologically, or someone else does, and then someone else comes along, or it's the same person, or they're both the same somehow, and they give them drugs, and they just do that over and over to these seed. They either try to use them as birthing women and soldier men, or some kind of sorcerer or warlock. How do you solve a problem like Maria? You give her a military husband. How do you deal with other ones? You give them Lady and the Tramp. How do you deal with a lady who doesn't want to submit to certain things? Well, she has to get with a tramp. But see, they make it like it's a good love story. It's not actually a good love story. She's royalty. She just mixed it with the Soviet. Oh, but this is night, such a beautiful night. The Italians are helping this happen. Shows you what a movie. It's like Lady and the Tramp. Are you kidding me? Yes, the beaver and the crocodile and everything in that freaking movie. All of them. That was a very classy movie, actually. That's one of those older animated creations where they spent so much art and detail. Just the scenes in the zoo. It's like, this is when people actually used to put themselves into movies. You don't do that anymore. Let's see. Lady in the Trump. You can't make this up. Good Lord. There must be some mistake. I didn't mean to let them take away my soul. Am I too old? Is it too late? You understand where these songs come from? Is there like some people, I tell them like MAGA and then Magog, and they go like, it's like I'm trying not to be frustrated, but it's like, if people really not see that it's the same word. And it says, yeah, the truth sets you free, and the word is hidden all power, knowledge, and wisdom, and everything, mystery of everything. It's like, yeah, so Messiah is there to make a physical signal post, literally a cell phone tower. Oh wow, it's an hour and 13 already. Where was I at? Perception. I'll figure it out in the next, because I'm only doing 4 at a time. And then the last section will be 3, of course, because 11 is an odd number. And every time we get to that 11, yes, it will get more and more odd. So I have to actually end this one pretty fast, because I gotta make sure the gigabytes aren't too high, because I need to share these in good quality on Telegram. So I have to make them an hour each. So let me start. Oh, I like this one. Sophisticated lady. Ooh, it's a lady. Hello, sweet thing. I'll be back in maybe at 4 o'clock. I'll try to make 4 o'clock.